Create a bid. This is where you set up any new bids on EasyPQQ, and this screen is essentially the front cover of your bid. It contains the client details, information on the bid in terms of what type of submission it is, its classification, the name of the project, the return date, your job reference, bid office and bid manager. So you fill in all fields on this form, and noting that you must complete all fields that have an asterisk as they are mandatory. I select my client. If the client isn't on this list, I can add my new client here, and when I complete this screen, that client will then appear on that list for future use. So I'm selecting my test client. The classification. These are the types of submission that you would put through. So I'm going to select a PQQ. The name of it. The submission type, how has that been submitted to your client? Do they want hard copies, CDs, or is it an online upload onto their portal? You can select as many of these options as you wish. Enter the bid value if you know what it is, the return date, the return time, the decision date, when you know when the results will be out, your job reference. That's your internal job numbering system if you have one. Then we select the bid office. So this is the office from where that project will be managed from. And the bid manager, who's responsible for this bid. Now we've got the option here to lock to bid manager. If that tick box is selected, this person, the bid manager, is the only person that will have access to that bid. Further down, I've got my bid sector. So we select our sector, and you can select your subsectors. Also with your types of work, you can select the types of work. Now when you've completed that page, you will then click Create a Bid. But before we do that, I just need to show you with this bid template. This is where you can duplicate a previous questionnaire or submission that you've put through EasyPQQ so that you don't have to go setting up the same questionnaire again. It might be in the instance where you're applying for multiple lots on a project and they're all separate submissions, or it's a client that you have tended to in the past and their questionnaires are the same. So to do that, I would click on this blue link. I select the bid from my list. And then if I just leave it that I've just selected this, that will just copy the questionnaire over. However, I have the option to copy over the answers, the appendix, the style and the cover set that was used, so I can replicate an entire bid in a matter of minutes. So once we're happy that we've filled in this screen, we then create bid. Unless you have duplicated a previous submission which is bid template, you will always select an imported document. If you're copying a previous submission, you will select a blank because the questionnaire is already in the system. So today we're going to create a document using an imported document. Create bid. This is the import screen. There's the name of my bid. And what I'm going to do now is I need to get my client questionnaire onto the left hand side of the screen, and we're going to build it on the right hand side. I can copy and paste the questions into this left hand box, or I can upload the document. If you choose to upload a document, please note that it currently only accepts .doc files. It will not accept docx. So I find the questionnaire on my PC. And I upload now. My questionnaire is now loaded into the left hand side of the screen. Here's my section 1 and all the questions belonging to it. Section 2 and all the questions belonging to it. Section 3 and so forth. So I need to get this questionnaire onto the right hand side. And basically I have two options while I'm doing this. One is to create my sections, which are my divider pages, and the other one is to create the questions within each of those sections or dividers. So section 1, background, this is a divider sheet. So I highlight that text and I click the green button that says create section. My questions within section 1, highlight each one individually, create question. And you just carry on doing this process. If I go to section 2 and create another section, you can see it's all building up here on the right hand side. Now, while it's building on the right hand side, everything goes to the bottom. So if you do need to reorder anything because you've missed a question out, you can just drag with these little blue arrows and bring them down into position where required. Okay, you can also remove questions if you wish. Now, a couple of things in here. These little yellow boxes, these are for the questions. This is your pagination prefix. So if we don't have a question number in this box, that question will not appear on the table of contents. So to get the question numbering into the yellow box, you simply highlight it and drag it in. Within EasyPQQ, as you're building your bid, it's building a table of contents in the background for your export. In terms of the yellow box in the section headings, this is all dependent on the layout of your covers and dividers and the style that you chose to use. This yellow box is called the section prefix, whereby when we lay out your covers and dividers on EasyPQQ and we set them up in the beginning, we would set up where the section prefix, i.e. the section number, is to appear, and where the section title, which is this background or financial information headings, where they appear. So like with the question numbering, I just drag my section prefix into the yellow box. Once I have completed and got all of my questions onto the import screen and built them on the right hand side, I'll then click Finalize Structure. This will bring us to the bid dashboard area. Manage a bid. Manage a bid. This is where you find and you work through any bid submissions that you have on EasyPQQ. You find the bid that you want to work on, click on it and manage selected bid. It brings you to the bid dashboard area automatically. But first, I'm going to work my way through the navigation here under Manage a Bid. Bid Home shows you information about this bid. As you complete questions or complete your responses on the bid, a progress bar will appear. And you've also got options here for output. You can revisit the bid import. You can mark the bid as complete when it's finished, and that will lock it down so no further editing can be carried out. Or you could delete the bid. The bid structure and the bid elements are two areas whereby, although you've done your import, or if you've duplicated a previous submission, you can still go in and make amends to the setup and structure that you originally created. Bid structure is where all your sections are held. If I wanted to add another section, I type in the section name and I give it a section prefix, and I'll add the section. If I click edit, I could make changes. I could, if the typo or change the heading or change the prefix, and I could click Save Changes. Or if I clicked Edit, I can also delete section. Bid elements. Bid elements is where your questions are held, your question titles. It's not the area to answer, it's just the question setup area. So I select the section that I wish to look at the questions for. And it's listed down here, all the questions that we had imported. A couple of things in here. These were all text boxes, which is our standard text editing tool. Within a text box, there is an option to add a word or a character limit on any response. So if I wanted to put a word limit of 300 words on this response and 400 on this one, I can then save all elements. So these two responses now have a word count limit of 300 and 400 words each. Although I've set a word limit, it won't stop you typing. Once you come to 301 words and so forth, it'll just flash at you in the corner of the answer entry area, so just so that you know it's as a guide as to where you are in terms of the limitation that was put on you. The other thing within bid elements, if you wanted to add another question within this section 1 or indeed section 2, whichever one we want, I select element. And the main elements that get used in here are the page break and the text box. So if I select text box and I click add element, it will appear at the bottom, and this is where I would enter my question number, and as copy and paste or type, and this is where I would enter the question number. I set my limit if I want to on the words or the character, and save. In addition to adding elements from this control panel up here, they always end up at the bottom. I could add an element directly in here rather than having it at the bottom and having to drag it up. So if I click on this little green icon, I will, for argument's sake, put a page break in, and I'll insert. Now what we'll get on our export when we view it in a while is a page break in front of question C. So A and B will flow and follow, but question C, regardless of where it is in the flow of the questions, it is now going to appear on a new page because we've put a break in front of it. The bid dashboard. This is the main working area within any bid on EasyPQQ. Whenever you log into a bid, it automatically navigates you to the bid dashboard. In order for the bid dashboard to work, though, we need to assign every single question to a user and give them a deadline date by when it was due to be answered. At the top here, we've got information on this bid. This is the name of the bid, and wherever you navigate within this sub-navigation of Manage a Bid, you will always be in this bid, our current bid. It's due in on the 30th of April, and there are 11 working days until that date. So I'm going to assign all my questions to somebody. I can assign the entire document here. So they're all assigned. And I can set the deadline dates by when it needs to be answered up at the top. So at the top I can do it for the entire document questionnaire. Or I could just assign an individual section to somebody. Or individual questions just by clicking on these links. I can also change the deadline dates on these links as well. So once I've done all that, I will then save changes. But before I click Save Changes, I must point out that you must complete every single question. It must have somebody assigned to it, and they must all have a deadline date. Otherwise, the save will not work. So now that I've saved my changes and I've assigned all my questions to people, you can see we've got a status column here and we've got a lot of red blobs. This is the traffic light system that the bid dashboard works off, and each depending on how the status of completion of each response is, it will depend on the colour they turn. The options we've got are to do, red, part complete, amber, complete, green, reviewed, purple, in production, blue. Although you've assigned all your questions here to people to answer, and it's a very good visual aid for managing this process, you can also send an email alert to each of these people notifying them that they have a bid to answer or questions to answer within the bid. And to do that, it's over here under Manage a Bid, under the bid email log. It lists all the people that you've assigned questions to, and you simply click email. And as you see, it just shows an email trail at the bottom as to who you sent them the email reminder or the email message to and when it was sent. And you can hit that as many times as you wish. Now I just came in and I just literally hit click, but you can set up your own custom messages to appear. So if I click on custom messages, which is under bid email log, and I can have as many customized messages as I wish. Give it a name, the email content, and what the PDF message is to be, and then you will add it. When you're back in the email log, you could select the message that you want to send and then click email. And it appears down here. Bid styles. Bid styling is basically the layout of your submission in terms of the font sizes, the colours of the font, the line spacing, the page layouts, where your appendices are going to sit, and so forth. I'm just going to click on one so that you can see the options that are available. The header and footer, the layout of questions, where you want each one to start on a new page or not, where you want the appendices to sit. They can come on the very next page straight after the answer immediately. Now what that one refers to is basically if there's space on the page when you attach something, it will appear on the same page as the text, your text response. It can be at the end of each section or at the end of the document. And within those two options, we also have the option to put a reference note. So at the end of that response, it will tell you where to refer to that appendix item. And when you get to it at the end of the section or the end of the document, it references it as well in terms of saying what section it belongs to, what question number it belonged to, and what the name of the document is. The table of contents, you can just display section headers, the section headers and the questions, section headers and questions, and the appendices. Page size, and then the page modes. This is the layout of your appendices. Down here we've got the different font sizes and the colours. To select a colour within the colour palette, you click on it. You can drag this little icon or enter the colour reference if you know what it is, and then click this little rainbow dial. That will then apply that colour to this area. And save changes. Now there's a couple of other things. So that's setting up the style. But if you want to use a style on your submission and apply it to that document, you click on the style and you would say use selected style. It will now move that to the top of the list and it will highlight that that's the one that's applied to this document. You could also set one as the default. If you set a style as the default, that style going forward will automatically apply itself to any new bid that's created on EasyPQQ. Bid covers. The quickest and easiest way to apply your covers to your bid is clicking Generic Covers. And it'll automatically load a front cover for you and a section divider. And that section divider will repeat throughout the bid, depending on the number of sections you have. And it will also give you a back cover. The other option is Covers Library, where you can have multiple cover sets with maybe different imagery on them or different color themes. So click on Covers Library. You can see I've got some in here. If I wanted to create a new set, I click Create New Set and add the new cover set. Once I've done that, I am now in my demo set, and then I just upload JPEGs. So I upload the front sides first, upload covers, and then I can upload the reverse. You will get another option then to upload. That's for your front and your back covers. To upload section dividers, you can have multiple section dividers in here. You would literally click Add New, find it on your PC and upload it. And you can have as many divider sheets as you want. So if you had 10 divider sheets and you decided you were going to use this cover set in your bid and you had 14 sections in your bid, it will use those 10 dividers, and then on section 11 it will revert back to the first one. So it'll loop them round. So I just click on the Covers Library again. If I wanted to apply one of these cover sets to my bid, I hover over it and I hit the green tick which says Apply this cover set, and I apply template. Now what we've got, we're on custom covers rather than the generic, and it'll show us each divider for each section within our submission. So I could choose to pick a different image or a different divider, or likewise with a cover, and this only affects this bid. It doesn't affect the template, the actual cover set. So if I wanted to choose a different divider for this section, I would click Import Covers. It brings me to the Covers Library. So I'm going to say I'm going to have something out of this set. Click on that. It gives me little thumbnails. And then I'll say import this one. I've decided I want to use this. So import this cover. And it's updated my bid for me. So now we have assigned all our questions to people in the bid dashboard and given them a deadline date by when they need to answer those. We have sent them email alerts reminding them or advising them of this, and we have set our style and applied our covers. Up at the top we've got two options. We've got the PDF generator and we've got a Word document export. So I hover over the PDF generator. There are two options within there, an email version and a double-sided for print. The double-sided for print prints your reverse sheet to your cover and your dividers. The email just does the front sheet because it's for single-sided screen viewing. And you can generate email or print per section as well. So if I select the email one, we've got our PDF. It's brought through based on our setup of our covers. It's automatically brought through the name of the bid, the type of submission it is, and the return date. It's also put my client logo in there for me. I've got my header and footer in. That's my graphical header and footer from the bid styles area. And within the graphical header and footer, it'll automatically pull through the client logo for you. It's my table of contents that's been built. And there's my section prefix and my section title. These are the dividers. Now if you remember from the bid import area, I put my section prefix into the yellow box. That's where it's laid out there, and then that's the section title. Our questions, and if we go to section 2, I didn't put my section prefix in the yellow box in the import area, so it stayed in here in the section title. Back to the bid dashboard. Right, to answer a bid and answer any particular question within it, I click on it and it brings up our text editor tool. I can just type merrily into this box or copy and paste, or at the bottom I can do options, question lookup, and this will bring me to the search. But unlike search all content, where our search field was empty, this time it's populated with the actual question wording from our question and it pulls it in. But I can get rid of this if I wish, and I can just type in my keywords and I can click search. I've got 61 results. We've got our filtering down the left hand side, so if I want the 16 PQQ responses, I can select that and click search and it brings them up. The name of the question and the answer body. It also tells me where it's from and if I had any attachments and when it was answered. So I can either select this text and copy, or I could hit insert. If I click insert, what this pop-up box is basically telling me is that it's going to bring through all the structure from where that response came from. So we had set a word limit of 300 words on our question. This will override that and any structure or anything. If there were any attachments with this response that I'm inserting, it will bring them through as well. So I'm going to say OK. And it's brought that response in for me. So if I'm happy with that response and that's the answer and it's complete, I can select over here on the right hand side the status of completion. So I'm going to select complete and I'm going to save and close. Now the little blob has turned green. If I click on my next question, same type of box, the standard text box, it also shows me that I'd set 400 words as my limit on it. Options question lookup. Now if I clicked my insert now, it would get rid of that 400 words for me. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to select the text. So if I just select this text, copy, close down this pane and paste it in. And it's just brought it all in for me. I'm just going to hit save. And now you can see I've gone over my 400 word limit and it's just flashing there in the corner to let me know. There are a couple of other items in here on answering. You can save multiple versions of any one response. So I'm just going to click Save as Version, and I've got 10 available slots. So if I save versions of this response and I save 11 or 12, the 11th and 12th will then override slot number 1 and 2 that were previously used. So I'm going to click Save Version. I'm going to just make a couple of changes to this. Just highlight that text so it's red. I'm going to save another version. So I've used one slot already. Save version. And I'm going to make another change. Save version. So you can see my slots are filling up. So I've now got 3 versions of this response saved. The active one, or the one that's in this active answer pane, that's the one that's in the search database for any other user if they're performing a search on the system. How do I find or review the versions that are in here? I go Options, Browse Versions. It lists all the versions that we had saved, with the most recent one at the top. If I click on it, you can see that was the recent one, the first one I had, or the last one I had. That was the second one, and that was the first response we put in. So if I decide, yes, I want to use this, I can say replace answer with selected version. Now before I click that, if there were any attachments or appendices with that response, it will also carry them in when I replace this. So this is now my saved version. Back under options, we've got options to attach collateral, files from the file manager, contracts from the contracts database, and CVs. If I click attach collateral, it lists everything that we've got in the collateral area of EasyPQQ, and I can select as many of these as I want. Add collateral and then click OK. They then appear at the bottom, which if I just click on them, I can reposition the order in which they appear. Options attach files. Now it'll load up everything that is in the file manager, and these are the folders, and I can just select and view whatever's in there. Okay. If my file or my document isn't in the file manager yet, I can upload it at this point rather than having to come out of my bid, go to file manager to do it, and then come back. So I will choose the file. I select the folder that I want it to go into. So I'm going into folder Company A, or I could create another subfolder if I wanted to. And then what that's going to do is it's going to upload my document into Company A, but also it's going to put it into my subfolder called Cara folder, and that's going to create the subfolder as well at the same time. So once I've done that, I will click Upload Files and immediately attach them. So what it's doing now is it's going to upload that document into the file manager for future use, and it's also going to attach it to this question. And it's listed over here on the right hand side. Options, attach files again. If your document is already in the file manager, I could just select it, and I can select as many of these files as I wish, and then add selected files because I don't need to do the upload because they're already in there. Now when attaching anything to a bid, it must be PDF. We got a little alert there when we were uploading those last few files saying that some of them weren't, but did I want to proceed anyway? But it always tells you here from the file manager what type they are. So there's a PDF, a Word document, an image, and another Word document. These Word documents and the images will not appear in the PDF output or the Word. It won't appear in your export if you've attached them. If I want to remove anything, I just click that little remove icon. So now that I'm happy with that response, I'm going to turn it to complete as well. And I'm going to save and close. And we've got another green blob here. I'm going to generate the PDF again. And now we've got our responses in here. My appendices are listed on my bookmark on the left hand side. This PDF is fully bookmarked, so if I click on background, it automatically brings me to that section. If I'm on the table of contents page, it would automatically bring me to whatever I click on there. So if I just scroll through, we'll go back to the beginning and I'll scroll through the PDF now. Front cover, table of contents. Section divider are questions with the answers. Down here it's listing the documents that we attach to each question, and we'd set them up to appear at the end of the document with a reference note. So it's saying here, see appendix item, appendix B, environmental accreditation ISO 14001. Our next divider sheet, our questions and answers, and then here are the documents that have been attached. Section 1, Answer B, Environmental Accreditation ISO 14001. Section 1, Answer B, EasyPQQ video attachment. And that's your bid. The last thing within Manage a Bid is at the bottom of the dashboard. We've got this area called Bid Uploads. And this is an area where you can upload all the documentation you received from your client in terms of the questionnaire, the instructions, any clarifications that come through, and so forth, so that everything for this bid is stored in the one area for all users and everybody involved in the bid to retrieve and view at any time. To upload any documents in here, I would click Select Files to upload. I can select any type of file and hold down the Control key and click Open. And what it's going to do now, it's going to upload those multiple documents that I picked. There's an Excel, Word doc and a JPEG in there, but I've uploaded all those 4 documents in one go. If I wanted to get rid of any, I can just click the Delete button and they remove from the list. So once I'm finished with this bid and all my responses are at the status that you've agreed within your team as to the end kind of colour, we can then go bid home. It's been submitted to the client and it's all done and dusted. I could say mark bid complete. Once the bid is complete, although I'm still in my bid, once it's complete, I only get the option for bid ratings and the bid dashboard in here. I can say the qualification of it if I want to come back into it. So I can say this was successful. And if I wanted to give reasons or feedback that you had, I can enter them into this field and save the changes. Once the bid is completed, if I go manage a bid, once it's completed, it disappears off this list of in progress documents. But to retrieve it, I can click show completed. And you will see there's a green tick against all our completed bids in here. I can click on it and still go in, manage selected bid as before. Brings us to that home screen. But if I click on the dashboard, my calendar and everything has disappeared. If I click into one of my answers, it shows the response and all the attachments, but I don't have any save options or anything in here. I can't type or do anything in here. I can select the text and copy it, and I can still generate the PDF, but no edits or amends can be made to that bid. So it's basically you're storing a replica of the submission that you sent to your client. The last thing on here on manage a bid, and this is in our completed bid, is bid ratings. And this is where, based on the feedback you receive from your client, you can score or rate how well you did in those responses. I can remove my rating if I wanted to clear it.